right now, Troy Prince, the chairman of the Iowa Democratic Party, is speaking, explaining what exactly happened tonight. Let's listen in.
And their results by taking the necessary steps to review and confirm the data. A thorough, transparent, and independent examination of what occurred yesterday will follow. But let me be clear. My #1 priority has been on ensuring the accuracy and integrity of the results. And we have been working all night to be in the best position to report results. And here, in just a couple of minutes, we will be reporting 62% of precincts from all 99 counties. The bottom line is that we hit a stumbling block on the back end of the reporting of the data. But the one thing I want you to know, we know this data is accurate. And we also have a paper trail and documentation that have been able to use to provide information to help verify the results. This is personal to me. I'm a lifelong Iowan. I have caucused for 20 years. And I know how important it is to our party, to our state, and to everyone, from our neighbors to new voters, to be able to come together all across this state. We want Iowans to be confident in the results and in the process, and we are going to take the time that we need to make sure that we do just that. So I know folks are going to want to be seeing the results as they come in, but I'm happy to take a couple of quick questions before that happens.
How can anyone trust you now?
We have been working day and night to make sure that these results are accurate. The one thing I will say is that the underlying data, the raw data, is secure. It was always secure. This was a coding error in one of the pieces on the back end, but the raw data, the data that has come in, is secure, and I can assure Iowans of that.
Are you working with the campaigns? Are you working?
Do you worry it could cost you your first in the nation status or endanger the caucuses as a nation?
The fact is that this is a conversation that happens every 4 years. There's no doubt that that conversation will take place again. But right now, my focus is making sure that we get these results out. We are going to continue to do that, and we will have the results out as soon as we can.
Are you
Jeff.
working with the campaign?
When do you believe you'll get to 100%? And how can you assure Americans that these are verifiably accurate results?
Well, we're going to take the time we need to get these results done. Now that we have the first batch that's going to be coming out here in a couple of minutes, we're going to continue to go through our processes, verifying everything. But the thing to remember here, folks, is that we have a paper trail. We have always said all along that throughout this process that we have backups to this system, that we have redundancies built in. And one of the ways that we do that is through the paper trail. Now, the fact is that as we started doing this last night, it took longer than we expected. And so, but my paramount concern is making sure that these results are accurate and reflect what happened last night in caucuses across the state. We're going to do just that, and we're going to take the time we need to do that.
When was the app submitted for review by an independent third party? Why was the app never tested statewide? And why did the Iowa Democratic Party deny the Department of Homeland Security's offer to test the app?
We have, I have no knowledge of the Department of Homeland Security making that offer to us. I will say that we have worked with cybersecurity experts, nationally renowned cybersecurity experts, to test this app and to do testing and security checks on this app. We took the steps we felt was necessary, but we found a coding error last night once we discovered some irregularities as the results started to come in.
Why was it never tested?
Yeah.
But why was it never tested?
What's that?
Were there any coding discrepancies during the third-party testing?
No, there weren't, and that's why what happened last night is simply unacceptable. And so again, we're going to have a thorough and independent review of exactly what happened last night. Right now, we're in the process of making sure that we get these results out, and that's what we're going to stay focused on. Yeah. Yeah.
Donald Trump has suggested that this whole process is rigged. How do you combat that? How do you assure Americans that this is trustworthy, this data?
We have said all along that we were going to make these caucuses the most transparent possible. This year, we're reporting out more data than we ever have reported before. And in addition to that, we have paper trails that we've never had before. And so we're going to take the time we need to verify these results, but these results are being based off what happened in the precincts last night.
The campaigns have their own data, Chairman Price. The campaigns have...
When I ran for chair, I made a commitment to see the caucus process through. That is what I am working on. That is what I will continue to work on. And whatever happens after that is to be determined. Anyways, thank you all, folks. The results are coming in. We will see you later.
Have you talked to campaigns so they can defend your data?
And we've just been listening to Todd Price, the chairman of the Iowa Democratic Party, and still at this hour, so late after the Iowa caucus, the polls closed, the precincts closed, we still have no idea who won the Iowa caucus, a complete catastrophe. The chairman of this party here in Iowa calling it completely unacceptable. He says what happened was a coding error with the app and the way those precincts were going to report who exactly won the caucuses. You got to remember, this year they were going to record 3 total numbers, and it seems like they may have bit off more than they could chew. I want to go to Rick Klein right now, our political director. Rick, this is a horrible way for the Democrats to start the political process, and it's still so late. We know that they're going to report 62% of the votes so far. 99% of the counties have reported in, but it's still an incomplete number.
Yeah, and this continues to be a debacle for the Democratic Party. The fact that almost an entire day after those caucuses began, the party only has results from about 2/3, a little less than 2/3 of the precincts, is something that's going to bear some explanation. And I think his blaming of a coding error does not fully capture the frustration that people across Iowa felt. There was frustrations that were felt at the precinct level where people didn't seem to know the rules, didn't know exactly how to record the information. There were failures in using the app. There was failures in tabulating the data. And then the fail-safes themselves failed when people across the state tried to call in the results. So I think the party's going to have a whole lot to answer for. And in terms of knowing who actually won the caucuses a day ago, we're not going to get there just yet. The data that's coming in now is incomplete and is not going to be a way to know whether it actually reflects how the entire state voted. So it may still be a while till we know who won Iowa.
And there's such a political dynamic at play here because, Rick, when you have no winners, then you have no losers. I want to bring in Mary Alice Parks right now. She covered the Bernie Sanders campaign for us 4 years ago, and they had a problem 4 years ago here with the Iowa caucuses with that razor-thin loss to Hillary Clinton. This time around, it's unclear who won, but Senator Bernie Sanders thinks from his internal polling they had a very good night, but we still don't know.
Right, they're feeling very confident, but they are disappointed. They wanted the headlines out of this. We know that Iowa is never about the delegates. The delegates eventually get awarded, but it's about those headlines, the momentum, and they feel robbed of that momentum right now.
And some candidates who may not have done well, and again, we don't know exactly how everyone fared here, but there has been some reporting and some concern about former Vice President Joe Biden. He's actually got a lawyer involved in this now, and some people have sort of criticized him for maybe spinning this to his favor.
Well, that's exactly what I was just trying to ask the chairman about. I was asking repeatedly, are you confident that the campaigns are going to defend your data? Because that's going to be the next storyline. It is possible that we see discrepancies between what the campaigns have and what the state party has. Now, obviously, the state party is the final word. They decide who gets the delegates. But if we have discrepancies, we could see a fight between some of those campaigns, and we're going to be tracking that really closely.
All right, we want to make it very clear to our viewers at home, we're not projecting a winner yet in the Iowa caucuses because we still don't have the information. We do have some data, and Rick Klein, I understand you have those numbers in front of you.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. We now have 62% of those Iowa precincts reporting. We were told they were spread across all 99 counties, with the caveat we don't know exactly where they're from. But here are the numbers as we understand them at this hour. 27% for Pete Buttigieg, 25% for Senator Joe Biden, 18% for Senator Elizabeth Warren. You see 16% for former Vice President Joe Biden and 13% for Senator Amy Klobuchar. I'll say, Tom, that those numbers roughly track with the informal and unofficial numbers that many of the campaigns have been releasing. So this doesn't seem wildly off from the expectations, but they are unofficial numbers. They are incomplete numbers at this hour. And again, with only 62% reporting and no timeline outlined about how long it will be before we see the rest, it's impossible to know if this order of finish or these percentages are going to be the final ones in Iowa. But again, that would appear to be pretty good news if you're Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders. Would appear to be in a pretty close battle for number one, depending on what else happens in the other outstanding caucus sites.
Except there's no headline yet to this day, almost a day after the Iowa caucuses, so they can't benefit, they can't ride that momentum into New Hampshire. Mary Alice, explain to our viewers, the way the Iowa caucuses work is you go in, and actually we have the ballot, you go in here.
It's not a ballot.
Not a ballot, sorry, the presidential preference card. You sign this, and then you can also make a second choice. It's called the second alignment, and Mayor Pete seems to have done well so far with the data we have on that second alignment.
These were major rules changes put in place after 2016. After 2016, the campaigns complained that there was not enough paper to go back and defend in the event of a mess. So they put in place these kinds of preference cards. Voters would fill out who they are caucusing for at the end of the night. And they made another change. The other change is they would report more data. They would report who people picked first when they first walked into the room, and we're seeing that data come in as well. Obviously, that's not how you win. You win by the numbers at the end of the night, after people move around. If their candidate doesn't meet a threshold, they can realign and go to the more popular corner if they want. We're getting all of that data now. There were a lot of complaints overnight about whether the demand for so much data was part of what slowed this process down. But you're exactly right. What we're seeing in the early numbers is that it looks like Mayor Pete really benefited between those first two alignments, that perhaps in some of those areas where maybe Joe Biden didn't meet that threshold, or Amy Klobuchar or some of the other candidates, that people went to Mayor Pete's corner. That's what the signs we're starting to see in the early data.
It sounds like the moderates went over to Mayor Pete instead of Joe Biden, at least in this stage of the game. But again, we're still waiting on more information. Whit Johnson has been with the Senator Sanders campaign from the get-go, and no campaign really vocally and publicly has been more aggressive and upset with what happened here in Iowa, except Senator Sanders. His team has been very, very aggressive publicly, coming out and slamming the process here, Whit.
Tom, that's absolutely right. I mean, Senator Bernie Sanders and his campaign were really hoping that they would get a big showing, a win to claim in Iowa, and then come and cement the victory with something else here in New Hampshire. So no doubt the campaign is very frustrated. Bernie Sanders himself said that he was disappointed and that everybody should be disappointed in what played out. In fact, that he said that the Iowa Democratic Party was negligent in not releasing these results in a timely manner. I will say this, though, the Bernie Sanders campaign, they're still putting their positive spin on all of this, and they believe that they have the internal data, the reporting to support that. The numbers that they're getting with 60% of the precincts. And again, this is what they're recording from people and volunteers they sent out to the different precincts. They believe that Bernie Sanders is the front runner coming out of Iowa. But obviously everything is very close. We're still waiting on the final results. So Bernie Sanders himself has held back from taking a full-throated victory lap in all of this. But we've seen Mayor Pete Buttigieg as well. I actually spoke with his campaign a short time ago. They believe, they told me just minutes ago before I came on the air, that they think that they will actually win the delegate count when it's all said and done. And they think that they're neck and neck with Bernie on everything else. So we knew that there was the possibility that several candidates could come out of Iowa claiming some sort of victory. But again, nobody expected a mess like this, Tom.
All right, Whit Johnson. And again, if you're just joining our coverage right now, the Iowa caucuses, the Democratic Party here, reporting 62% of the vote still in, but still a major chunk of the vote has been left out. At this point right now, it looks like Senator Sanders and Mayor Pete Buttigieg had a good night, but it's still unclear. Stay on abcnews.com for the latest updates. As soon as we get that information from the Iowa Democratic Party, as soon as those precincts report, we're going to bring them to you. We're going to have much more tonight on World News Tonight with David Muir. And of course, we'll have ongoing coverage from the State of the Union tonight with George Stephanopoulos. We thank you for watching from Iowa Tonight. I'm Tom Yamas. We now return to our scheduled programming.